Hey everybody, what's up? I hope you're having a fantastic day. And you're tuning back into the show. I appreciate it. We are growing like crazy. And if you're new to the show, let me tell you what we do here. Look, we talk with the top minds, the most brilliant people in the world of real estate, and break it down. What are they doing? What's working? What's not? What are they struggling with? And how did they cross that hurdle? Whether you are selling 5 deals a year or 500 deals a year, there are nuggets here. Now, today's guest is, look, I'm trying to mix it up for you guys, right? I hear, our last episode was with a guy who's doing 300 deals. I think he was making like $1 million a year. Well, sometimes you guys can't relate with that because maybe you're only making 50 or 70 doing 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7 deals. So I'm trying to bring real, quote unquote, real people onto the show. Now, I'm also trying to mix it up. If you've been following the show for a while, we're bringing everybody from authors to, we had the head of the FBI negotiation hostage unit come to talk about negotiation. Today's guest, here's what he does. Okay. He flips businesses. You guys are familiar with flipping houses. Buying them, selling them at a profit. This guy does this for businesses. He has flipped some real estate businesses, actual production houses like yours. So we talk about that. Now, why is that helpful to you? Or is it? And I think it's helpful because, what we dig in here is how to find opportunity, how to find deals. And I think the tie-in is, with these businesses, an offline business, right? Somebody out there has, some kind of printing business. He's tired of it and has been doing it too long, and he wants to sell it and just get his equipment paid for. Same thing with houses, right? There are properties out there, whether investors have some 4-plex. Or 10-unit apartment property, or a rental unit that they just they're not listing it. They don't know what to do with it. It's just a pain in the neck. So we talk about how to find opportunity and the fact that while some opportunity is hidden, you got to dig for it. Other opportunity, it's right in front of our faces. We just have to have our radar tuned to notice that opportunity when it comes up. So we talk about finding opportunity. We also talk about businesses or things that you can do to build passive income. Now, I love this notion of passive income, right? That's why people invest in real estate. They buy a unit, they buy an asset, and they just collect money off it every month. And there's lots of different ways to build passive income. Lots of them. A friend of mine, Pat Flynn, has a show called Smart Passive Income, and he does all sorts of crazy stuff for passive income. He builds websites. Really, then they're not that great, but builds websites with a bunch of affiliate links. Last month, I think he made $180,000. So we talk about building passive income. We also talk about, and this is really important to you guys, I think, why you need to be an expert at everything, okay? Especially early on, right? We're all out here. We're all solopreneurs. And what a solopreneur is you are the business of me, Inc. Me. And you are obviously incorporated you until you can start to grow a team and actually build have marketing in there and everything else. So you need to be an expert at everything. And that means, marketing. You need to be a sales expert. You need to be a good manager. You need to be a good leader. So we talk about that. All right. Welcome to Super Agents Live. This is the one place where you can come and hear the most successful people in real estate. You'll hear how these super agents built their businesses, how they stay productive, and how they stay motivated. Who am I? My name's Toby Salgado, and I made my first $1 million in real estate. Yeah. And I'm your host for the next 30 minutes while we talk to yet another amazing real estate entrepreneur. Stay tuned.
Let's go! Yeah!
Really quickly, this episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Real Estate Radio Experts. Look, you want to level up. Radio is the thing. You want to build a true marketing business, a true attraction business? Radio is it. Instant credibility. Come list me leads. It's a joke how in the last week, we've onboarded 3 new clients, which is awesome. And by the way, this is in a lot of ways when we can get a campaign up and running. This, in a lot of ways, is kind of passive income for us. We do a ton of work. We're underwater early on. And then, once we get it up and running and they're getting a return and they're getting phone calls, we just make our passive income. We don't make a ton of money off of every client, but it's a numbers game, just like anything else. And even if you only make $700, $800 per client, but you got 300 of them, it adds up. All right. And by the way, we onboarded a couple new listeners, Huntsville, Alabama, Temple, Texas, and a guy that I'm pretty excited to work with. I think we can do a lot for him. Derek Brandenburg out there in Fargo, Indy, North Dakota. I never name people, but I did. Okay. Hashtag for the show, unpack that idea. My Twitter handle @SuperAgentsLive. Would love to meet you in Twitterland. That's it. Let's get to it. Today on the show, we're doing something a little bit different. Today's guest, this guy has an interesting background. He's a business investor. He fundamentally buys and sells, flips businesses. So unlike instead of buying and flipping houses, this guy's doing it with businesses. He's owned 17 offline businesses, 30 online businesses, and he currently has a network of different businesses that he's working with right now, and there are some real estate agents in there. So we're going to dig into what he's doing. We'll see how, what tactics, what things you guys can learn from today's guest and implement it into your business. I'm thrilled to welcome Ace Chapman. Hey, Ace, thanks for taking the time out, man.
Great to be here with you. I love when we kind of get into shows where there's not a direct correlation and maybe we can bring some things to your audience that they haven't considered before.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, man, I mean, in terms of we are branching out. I recently had the head guy of the FBI negotiations, the FBI hostage unit. He ran it for 12 years, and we brought him on, and we talked all about negotiations. So I think you're going to be an interesting guest. So listen, Ace, take a minute, tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
So this whole journey started when I was 19 years old, was the customer of a business. And I just saw that they needed a lot of help. I loved what they were doing. And I reached out to them and basically said, hey, would y'all like to have an intern? I was a college student ending my sophomore year. And I was like, obviously, you guys need some help. Would you like for me to intern with you for the summer? And I thought that would be a great experience. And they wrote back and basically said, yeah, the reason that business sucks is that we've moved on to another project that we're really focused on. Would you like to buy the business? So that escalated really quickly. So I found myself a broke college kid with about $3,000 that I'd saved from the summer before. Trying to figure out how to buy this $70,000 business that they gave me an amazing deal on. But, even if you get an amazing deal, you got to figure out how to make it work. So that was the beginning of this journey 16 years ago.
Well, hold on. So tell me what that business was and how you even discovered it.
Yeah. So I've always been a little bit of a business nerd. My mom likes to tell the story. When I was 6 years old, she gave me $20 to go pay for my pictures at school. And then, she started giving them out at church. I'm like, Mom, we paid $20 for these things. You can't just go around giving them out. And after me pitching a fit, she finally let me sell my pictures for 50 cents a piece. And so I've always been interested in business, and it started at an early age. And so one of the things that had always piqued my interest was the stock market. I was always curious about how it works. So This business was one of the very first stock market simulators that you could just go on, play around, take fake money, and invest it in the stock market. And this was 1998, 99, so it's the early days of high-speed internet. But still, the site was always crashing. You could never get in touch with the owners. And so as a customer, I just wanted to see this thing thrive, and I saw other customers complaining. And so that was the first thing. And I discovered two things here that folks in real estate realize. Number one is that, the very best opportunities are hidden. You got to go out. It's not going to just be served to you on a silver platter. And you never know where the next deal is going to come from. And so me reaching out to them is what led to the opportunity. And even then, I still had to figure out how to close that deal, which basically, number one, they're giving me this amazing deal at a rock bottom price. But me being a naive kid, I was still willing to go back and ask for more. You can't get what you don't ask for. So I went back and I said, hey, I know you've given me this amazing deal, but I also need you to finance at least half of it. And they came back and actually, looking back now, I was like, I have no idea why they did that. But they came back and agreed to that, and I was able to find an investor for a little bit of it. And then actually, not without my parents knowing, cobbled together a little bit of credit card money with my little $3,000 and got that first deal done.
That's awesome, man. Well, and look, so earlier, Ace, you said, the very best deals are often hidden. And I think I would agree with that. But I'd also say many times there are terrific deals that are sitting right out in the open. And I think, this story is a great example. That was just sitting out there, and you were bold enough, right? You had enough courage to go and ask, if you could participate, and then it turned into this purchase for you. Now, how did that end, Ace? And by the way, so that's 1998, 99. I was in the Valley. I started I raised $7 million, and we started a company called Work Exchange. We competed against Elance. We were all too early. And here's the problem that we had, Ace, is that in those days, PayPal didn't exist. So it was very hard for us to get paid from. We had traffic, we had a product, but the financial aspect was missing. So don't go too deep on this, Ace, but tell us the business model for this first company, and then tell us how it ended.
Yeah. So the biggest thing that was like just absolutely outrageous at that point was the fact that ads were based on billboard CPMs back in the day. So our model was based on people coming, using the software to play in the stock market, and we had ads that were up there.
E-Trade, Schwab, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And they loved us. We sent them a ton of customers. They built their brand with younger people. All that stuff was there. At one point, we did have a offer to buy the business for $1.4 million. But things were amazing. So there was absolutely no reason to take that offer. We ended up holding on to it. As if you were in the Valley at that point, what happens in 2000, 2001. And so we ended up selling the business literally for 1/10 of what we could have gotten earlier. And I think that was one of the things that led me to this concept, or at the very least made me trigger happy when later on I had somebody that was interested in buying my business. It was definitely for sale, So it led me down this path to really focusing on building a business and creating value, and then being willing to sell the business as opposed to trying to hold on to it forever.
Yeah. No, okay, perfect, man. I'm really excited to get into your story, because it's there's a lot of parallels with my story. I'm gonna try to throttle myself not to jump on you, but so how do you go about finding those opportunities that you say are hidden?
Yeah. So a lot of times, like you said, sometimes they can be hidden right in front of your eyes. You're going into a business, you're talking to an owner of a restaurant that you love, and they're saying, oh, I'm getting tired of this, that kind of thing. Other times, though, and the deals that we like to go after are when you've got a person that is really motivated and they can't really tell anybody. unlike real estate, 80% of the deals that actually sell in our world never get advertised to anybody. They're literally never made public. So you end up with these situations where somebody wants to sell their business, but they don't want anybody to know that it's for sale. So whereas you have 75% of the deals that close in real estate where, it's advertised in some way, whether it's listed or just, put it somewhere. So with those 80% of the deals, a lot of them are just situation. It's a situation that causes the owner to want to sell it. So if we end up with a deal where it's a great business, but there's something going on outside of the business itself that motivates the sale, that's an ideal situation. What we don't like is when the owner's trying to sell it because the business is going downhill. Yeah. So, one of the unique places that's just been a killer for us these past 2 years, once we kind of tweaked how we reached out to them, has been divorce attorneys. Mm-hmm. Divorce attorneys is one of our leading source of deals that we get closed, because and a lot of times that owner is so kind of stressed outside of the business that they realize the best thing for this business at this point is to be sold to somebody else. I can get some cash. Sometimes there's other monetary things like alimony and things that have to be settled where the business needs to be sold. But we've seen one situation actually and we've seen similar things over and over. But, you have an owner that we had one in particular where the owner had literally not been back to the business in a year and a half. And we almost lost that deal because my buyer, my client who I was partnering with to buy the business, he went and tried to meet with the guy. They set up a time. The guy didn't show up. He went back to the business, said, "Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, just set up another time." And we did this 3 times. We went back to the divorce attorney and basically said, "This guy obviously doesn't want to sell his business. He's flaked on the meeting 3 different times." And it wasn't until that point that we found out that no, you can't meet him at the business. He literally cannot bring himself emotionally to go back to that business that he and his wife had built together. Wow. And so you end up in literally situations where that business was still working. Everybody was, I mean, he had some amazing employees. They had built an amazing business. Most businesses, you don't go in and don't talk to anybody for 6 months. It's gone. Yeah. But this business was still profitable. Everything was great. And so not only were we able to help him, because it wasn't going to last forever like that, we were able to help him and allow him to move on. But, we also got a really great deal on a business.
Okay. So divorce. And again, how you got onto that, Ace, just to remind you a little bit, I said, where do you find this deal? So divorce attorneys are one channel. Now, let me say this, Ace, and I want to get your take on it. Because I want to talk about the typical model, right? The best kind of businesses that you see in terms of, either. Well, look, I won't even go there. So let me run this by you, Ace. Now, if you were fascinated, your first company was with the stock market. Now, obviously, insider trading is illegal. We saw Martha Stewart go to prison over it, right? So, if you can get some insight into a future event that hasn't happened yet, right? That's great, but with stocks, you can't act on that. Now, with real estate, Ace, real estate is an industry where insider trading is completely legal, right? And again, you're kind of playing with this in your way too, right? So, there's death, divorce, disease, right? If you can get some insight into those things, sometimes you can buy a piece of real estate dirt cheap or buy a business dirt cheap. Do you have any thoughts on that, Ace?
Yeah. I think that's a big part of what we're doing. A big eye-opening point for me was spending some time with my dad, and he's part of a foundation, had a contributor who owned a insurance company. And this is after me doing deals for years. And I actually was interested in investing in his stock. And I'm asking him questions, basically the exact same questions that I would ask if I was going to buy a business. And he's like, yeah, I can't really tell you the answer to that. I can't really, that's insider trading. I'm like, wow, it really brought to light something that I kind of knew. But as I sat down and just asked some very simple questions, it's like, if I'm going to invest in something, I need to know this. And you couldn't get that information. So this is an opportunity to invest in a business or buy a business where you get access to everything. I've found that even just being in the market when I'm not trying to buy a business at a certain point is one of the greatest educations that you can have in business. I mean, literally, it's an opportunity not just to learn in some seminar where somebody's telling you the things they want you to know about their business. You're talking to people who have built businesses, made it through what I call the entrepreneurial gauntlet. It's tough starting from scratch, and they were able to build something and make it profitable and create some value that's worth selling. And you have the opportunity not just to ask questions, but full kimono, look at tax returns, ask all the details about it, look at financials, see what they're doing in their marketing. I mean, as a business owner, it's one of the most valuable places to get educated. But like you're saying, in addition to that, if you are buying the business, you've got all of the insider information that you need. And what's really neat is being able to cross-pollinate those ideas. So as a quick example, we had a guy who was looking at buying a business in the automobile space. He wanted to just do kind of an oil shop, very simple repairs, that kind of thing. So we talked to the guy who owned the business, and it didn't really click. There were some issues, and we didn't buy that business. So then we found one business where the guy was about to lose his franchise because he wasn't able to keep up with the repairs and all that stuff. And it had just gone down here. He'd owned it for forever, and was about to just lose the business and walk away. He felt like he had saved for his retirement or whatever. The issue was he didn't want to invest the money into creating all new equipment. As soon as he said that, we were able to go back to that other deal we talked to, where this guy, one of the things that he brought up, we didn't even ask him because we didn't know to ask, but he was bragging about the deal that he had just made with Valvoline, where he agreed to sell only Valvoline oil in his shop. And they said, in exchange for that, as long as you meet this minimum every month of sales, we will get you all new equipment and we'll pay for the lease each month.
Wow.
And so we got that business, literally walk away money. And so those kind of deals are the things that can exist just from talking to, in some cases, your competitors. And learning what they're doing in their business. And this is one of the only spaces where you can do that, where a competitor is really going to open up and talk to you.
So Ace, now you've owned online businesses and offline businesses, and I want to get your take on if somebody wants to do this, and I'm sure there's lots of people listening to this and they're like, I'd love to buy a business. Certainly there's pluses and minuses to both online and offline. Now, online, right, you can get to massive scale very, very quickly if you know how to drive traffic. Offline, that's a whole different animal. If you had $10,000, well, before I ask that, I want to set up. If somebody wants to buy, let's talk about online, then we'll talk about offline. If somebody wants to buy an online business, Ace, and kind of maybe run it on the side, what is the amount of money that they should have laid away? What is that number? And I know more is better, but what's the minimum number? Maybe that's a better way to ask it. Ace.
For an online business?
Yep.
So for an online business, you can go really low. I mean, I'm buying a business right now that's an $18,000 business. And, it's been in existence for 4 years, making consistent money. I think a lot of people have the idea that, if it's an internet business and it doesn't explode to this multi-million-dollar thing, that it's a failure. But you can buy these little passive businesses. I've got employees in place that take care of the very minimal amount of work that's necessary and get an amazing return. So right now, those businesses are selling around 2 times earnings. And so basically that breaks down to 2 multiple means it's going to pay for itself in a couple of years. And there just aren't a lot of places. I mean, the private equity guys would kill for the returns that we can get in the market that I'm in, which is under the $3 million mark. I mean, they're getting amazing returns off of 8-9 times. And we're in a space where, just the average deal, that's not a deal with a motivated seller like what we like to go after, but the average deal is a 2 to 3 multiple.
2 to 3 multiple on revenue or earnings?
Earnings.
On earnings. Profit. Now, what happens when, again, I don't want to get stuck in the weeds here, but obviously, all those small businesses, you obviously want to run as much personal stuff as you can, right? Lease your car, your cell phone. So that looks like that. Here's what I'm getting at, and you know this space very well, right? You are going to have inflated expenses that look like business expenses, but really are not. So how do you manage that? You just go, hey, live with it. This is what you paid. This is what you have on your tax return, and I will give you 2x.
No, we do what is called seller's discretionary income. Some things are obvious. Now, obviously, that's a part of the negotiation process. Yeah. I mean, when I'm looking, I can be, because I see that. And in this space, the important thing to me is that I'm buying a strong business. So if I buy a strong business, it's definitely going to be here 2-3 years from now. One of the most recent businesses I bought has been around for 34 years.
Wow.
It's not going anywhere. And it's not a big business, $500,000 business, but it's been in business 34 years. So it's a great small business, and to buy that at 2 times earnings, there are some things that I'm just going to let go, and I'm not going to be particular. Now, some things are just obvious. For me, I'm looking at the financials, and the guy's sponsoring his son's little league team. And so for me, I'm not going to debate that. Now, somebody else who really wants to be hardcore can say, hey, you may have gotten some business in from that. You got your name out there with a little league team, and there may have been some people that were looking to do business with you because of that. I'm not going to be a stickler like that.
Sure.
But you've got the profit and the earnings that are on the tax return, and then you've got the seller's discretionary earnings, and you kind of want to go somewhere in between those numbers. You don't want to necessarily say, okay, I'm going to let go of everything, because, with the car lease, you probably did some runs, and there were some things that you did associate with the business. So somewhere in between those 2 numbers is where you want to end up.
Okay. All right. That's a fair answer. So if me, for example, so I go, hey, Ace, I have 50 grand. I want you to go find me a business. Where, in terms of finding the best deal and or, finding the right kind of business for me, would you go to the online world first or the offline world first?
In that range, I would probably go to the online world first, because you're probably not going to buy something that's going to give you a full-time income. And so you could buy a little part-time business that it's not going to give you a lot of headaches and not going to take up a lot of your time, and you can get an amazing side income from that. Now, if you really want to go to work, we can take that $50,000 and buy a large business offline, as long as you're committed to going in and working the business. It's probably not going to allow you to leverage and buy a large passive offline business. Mm-hmm. But if you want to kind of, for folks that are leaving corporate America, we've done plenty of those where with less than $50,000, we go into a business, and it's something that can be systemized. But at the moment, we have a seller that is trying to get out of it, so they're motivated, and then we can come in with some fresh blood. One of the unique things, and one of the things that creates a little bit more motivation in our space than a lot of times times with real estate is the fact that being an entrepreneur is tough. I mean, when you're somebody that started from scratch, it's a hard road. We just did a deal with a couple that put 2 years into a business and they built it from scratch and they're spending 16-hour days. And in the last 6 months, they finally saw the light of day. It's profiting. It's growing like crazy. They got employees in place and they just hit a brick wall and contacted somebody in our network and basically said, hey, we can't go back into that business. We're done. It's exhausted us. And you look at the storyline of what an entrepreneur has to go through, they're starting a business from, getting the office space or the retail space and signing that lease, making the deposit, starting to do some build out, hiring the contractors, managing those people, negotiating that, getting some employees, starting to train those employees, trying to market so that you can have a grand opening. All of that is before it opens and you're still losing money once you get started and hopefully one day break even. And so you pour so much into that. And in a lot of cases, we can end up with a seller of a business like that where we can take 50. They're just willing to walk away. Yeah. They're just tired of it and want to go on to something else. And we can go into that business a lot of times not paying anything down and basically take over, give them some long-term benefits, maybe allow them to hold some equity, and we take over and start to put some systems in place and take that business to the next level, which is a different kind of work. I tell people, I'm not an entrepreneur. I don't have an entrepreneurial skill set. My skill set is purely in kind of a deal-making world, where I can create deal flow and do due diligence and do valuations and put together deal structures that protect us. I kudos to all the amazing entrepreneurs out there.
So what about, obviously, Ace, if you can find that deal where the owner is just sick of it, they spent 2 years building it up and, there's God, I didn't know I was going to be working 90 hours a week. I'll let Ace give me 50 grand and then I'll take a percentage for the next few years. Here's the problem that I see, and I want to know how you address this, is my skill set or Johnny's skill set or Sally's skill set is X. Now, you may find a great deal in an industry that they know nothing about. Now, ideally, you would have that founder stay with you for a year or two and kind of walk you through, teach you the business. How big of a problem is not having the skill set in the industry of the business in the industry that you're purchasing a business?
Yeah, that's such a great question. That's a great question. One of the things is, since you're shopping for businesses, it's like shopping for a car. If you got a family of 6, unfortunately, the little sports car is out. We can go after the business that's the right fit. But what we really like to do is, since we don't have to be the entrepreneur, one of the reasons that it's so tough to win at the starting from scratch game is that you do have to be an expert at everything. You've got to be good at marketing. You've got to be good at hiring and training. You've got to be good at financing and managing that and operations and blah, blah, blah. Most of the time, there's a person has certain aptitudes. And one of the things that we do with the people in our acquisition network is take a test to kind of see, in a business, where are you going to tend to focus? And it's not so much to say that, you are an expert at retail. It's within any business, there's those certain components, like I just named, that make up every business. And so for the person that has a high aptitude in marketing, they're going to go into any business that needs marketing and really enjoy working on that. And so we had a deal recently where, we had some folks down in Santa Barbara. They were selling a business. They were amazing programmers. And they had built a business that was basically a SaaS business. And because it was in a certain industry, in that industry, because they built such a great product, word of mouth had allowed them to grow a great 6-figure income business. And they were happy. Customers are happy. They never spent a dime on marketing, but the operations was immaculate. The back end was better designed than a lot of $1 million SaaS products that we've looked at and done deals on. But every solution to a problem was programming. So we get on the call and I'm telling one of my clients, this is a great deal for you. And she gets off the phone with him. It's like, I couldn't even understand what they're saying. That was a waste of time. Everything that they said was about a programming language. I couldn't even literally understand the words that were coming out of their mouth. And I was like, that's the exact reason that this is a good deal for you. Most people that have a high aptitude for finance sit down with another numbers guy and they hit it off. And they can see in the business, like, look, I've got all the numbers together. It's all organized and da-da-da-da. And the guy leaves there like, I want to do a deal with this guy. This is the business that I need. But the place that they should really go is that place there where the numbers are wrecked and they walk out thinking, oh my goodness, this guy is in trouble. The business is, has no organization when it comes to finance. So in that particular deal, we end up closing that deal. They had done 98% of everything that could be done in operations and programming. So she was able to just hire somebody to kind of manage that on an ongoing basis. And then she's been able to grow that business as they had never done anything in marketing.
Wow.
In the first year, it went from a $250,000 business to a $500,000 business. This year, she's on track to take it to a 1.2/1.4 million dollar business. And literally this was a business that had been at the same level, just trucking along for 3 years. And we just did a little testimonial video with her. So that's what can happen when you put together the right skill set with a business that has a deficiency in that area.
Yeah. Okay. I love it. So, look, Ace, I think we have to talk after this call. I mean, I think I would love for you to find me something. But so how about this, right? So you are going to let me ask you this. What is, and try to just take 10 seconds. What is the typical, I come to you, Ace, I say, Ace, here's what I'm looking for. This is how much money I want to spend, whatever. How long typically does it take you and your team to go out and find a good fit for me?
The average is 4 months to get it under contract.
Okay. Now, how often are you finding those deals where the owners, it's up and running, maybe there's, the finances are a wreck or the something's, obviously there's a problem somewhere. The owner wants out and they'll get out or they'll sell to you with maybe no money down or limited money down. How often does that happen?
Do I have to give a 10-second response?
No. The other one was 10 seconds, not that one.
I know I could get long-winded.
I'll stop you.
No, good. I mean, we get a lot of those deals. We had a recent case where we had negotiated a deal with the owner of the business. It was a no money down deal. He was getting the cash that he wanted out. And we get on the phone and he brings his son on and they get the kind of closing statement. And the son is like, but wait a minute, it doesn't look like you guys are bringing any cash to the closing. And we're like, yeah, that's right. But your dad is getting all the cash that he wanted. We negotiated it that way. And he's like, but I don't understand how you can buy a business and you're not bringing cash. And we're like, well, you're looking at the closing statement. And then he says, but that's not fair. That's not fair for you to be able to buy my dad's business and you not put up any money. And literally after the call, he convinced his dad to walk away from the deal.
Oh, wow.
So do have these crazy things that can happen in this world. But we have closed a lot of deals. We've got a lot of testimonials up on YouTube about the no money down deals. And that's mainly just, it grabs people's attention that is even possible. But the real goal is getting an amazing ROI and having a lower risk. I'm well aware that, all it takes is one person coming out saying, oh, I lost my life savings buying a business with Ace. And so we try to be as conservative as possible and make sure that we're connecting people, like I said, with the right business that they're going to thrive in. But we're doing a deal structure that protects them. So that's what we're, it's not as much about the no money down is great as if we can kind of shift some of that risk to the seller and how we structure that deal. So it's more about going in and, like I talked about with the oil change place, going in and trying to be as conservative as possible when we structure those deals.
Well, and the reason why I asked that, Ace, is because for you, right, for Ace Chapman, if you go and find a deal that you can get for no money down, and it's got some employees, it's got some revenue, it's got some if it's offline, it's got some plant and equipment, some stuff there, some hard assets. Why wouldn't you just go out and go Ace Chapman Fund LLC? And just leave the name on the front door and literally just put the foreman in charge of it and walk away. Like you fundamentally taking no risk. I don't understand why you as Ace wouldn't grab all those deals that you can. And maybe you do. I don't know.
Exactly. That's what we do.
No, but I'm saying for you, Ace, like why would you ever give that to me?
Yeah. So I want to invest in the deal, and by investing in the deal through you, I have another layer of bureaucracy that I don't have to employ. So basically 6 years ago, I hit a ceiling. I was doing a lot of deals, basically realized, I'm in Tennessee. Most of the time I'm actually in the Caribbean for the next few months. But I live in Tennessee, and I remember vividly, I had a couple deals in Tennessee. I had a couple deals down in Alabama, and I had some, and it was just, at the end, you still have people that are reporting to you. And that's when I realized, if I wanted to grow, I either had to do larger deals, and then I would be up against the private equity guys and buying things at 8, 9 times when you've been buying them at 1 and 2 times.
Yeah.
Just isn't exciting. And I'm like, I can't bring myself to do that. And so what I realized is like, if I could have these people that were in between me and the business, and they had multiple businesses. So I have clients and parts of the acquisition network that they have 3, 4, 5 businesses. And then that single person comes back to me. And most importantly, they've got a vested interest in the deal. It's not just an employee. They're invested in those businesses. So right now, I was on a call earlier and we were talking about the fact that, we've got 6 deals in negotiation right now. I couldn't be even just the negotiation process and due diligence and valuation and deal structure. Just doing that on 6 deals at the same time would be an absolute nightmare. For me, I would miss something somewhere.
Yeah.
But when I've trained those 4 people that are involved in those 6 deals, that allows me a lot more leverage.
So, right. Okay. So look, the business that I want, right, and I think it's kind of the same that everybody wants in a lot of ways, is I'll give you a good example. So my calendaring system is called Schedule Once. And it's basically, dude, I give you the link to my calendar, which you and your team, Ashley, used to set up this call with me. You pick a date, it throws it on my calendar, and it throws it on your calendar. It sends automatic follow-up emails. I pay $19 a month. And I don't know how many customers they have, but I can't imagine that guy does anything to the software, right? And earlier you were saying SaaS, and if people don't know what that is, that's software as a service. So that's brilliant. I just set it, forget it, and get paid every month, right? All the software is created, so it's all baked in there. Right. And that $19 a month that I pay and the other 1,000 customers or whatever, that's pure profit. Right. There's fundamentally no overhead, no operating cost for that kind of business, Ace. How often do you run into those? And this is going to be a multi-part question. It's terrible for me to do as an interview, but I'm going to do it. And the thing that I have to believe you come up against with those SaaS products, these are millennials for the most part creating them, right? They're tech savvy people. And, whether it's angel investing or venture capital, valuations are through the roof. It's not 2x. It's, and it's not even 9x. It's crazy valuations. So, again, I'll ask you, how often do you come up on those SaaS products? And two, what is the motivating factor for these guys to sell to you at a 2x multiple?
So first of all, we do them a lot. Well, we're doing of those 6 deals, actually 2 are SaaS. 3 are basically kind of content related, and 1 is actually one it has some drop shipping in the content, and then 1 is e-commerce. So yeah, we get those SaaS businesses. The larger they get, the higher the multiple. So we did just do a deal earlier this year where actually we were on the sales side. So I had a client who had bought a SaaS business about 2.5 years ago. It was smaller. It was done at, I think, about 2.75 multiple. It got bigger. It ended up being a $3 million deal, and it was done at a 4.25 multiple, which is still high for our space. And I'm very proud of the fact that we helped them get it done. But we did a deal that was just a $100,000 deal with a client who's a client that's doing multiple deals. And it's a SaaS business, great little business in an awesome space. And I am pretty sure, I may even write you an email and we can put in the comments after, but I'm pretty sure we got that at a 1.8. A multiple, actually lower than 2. And it's really a standard. I mean, in the less than $500,000 businesses, even online, especially e-commerce and that kind of thing, we're starting to see it inch up to 2.5, 3. The worst folks for us to deal with, quite candidly, are the folks from Silicon Valley, because it's just a different world. There's a different world. They're talking to these other guys that are talking these outrageous multiples and all that stuff. But you get outside of that world, and when that person goes to just meet with a regular business broker, that business broker is used to selling things at 2-3 times earnings. So we're just starting to see internet deals bump up against 3. And this you will really enjoy. I mean, like 4 or 5 years ago, things were selling at a 7, 8, 10 multiple on a monthly basis for internet deals. And, I would talk to people all the time, like, it really doesn't make sense to me. I mean, you can have a retail clothing store with employees and lease and and literally it's selling at half the multiple that e-commerce doing the same. I mean, it's like the e-commerce is less than half what the retail with all that headache is. So it didn't make sense. And sure enough, we've seen that I wish I would have bought a lot more back then.
Yeah.
But it'll inch up, but it's slow. Right now, you can easily buy deals at 2.5 times.
Ace.
Hey, man.
I don't know what happened there. The audio started to go bad, and then you dropped. Okay. I can edit all that out. That was 2 minutes of dead time. Okay. So, Ace, I'm going to ask you one last question, then we're going to start wrapping up. And and maybe it's more than one, but where do you think, Ace, we've talked about multiples, we've talked about where it's expensive, we've talked about where, what good deals you have found. If I asked you, where do you think there's low-hanging fruit right now in the middle of 2015 to buy a business? Where do you think the low-hanging fruit is?
It would be in general in the offline world.
Okay.
Everybody's focused on the internet deals. Obviously, I think in long term, there's a lot of low hanging fruit in the online world because multiples are going to continue to go up from where we're seeing them right now. But in the offline world, you've got the baby boomers bringing deals to market. They're bringing 5 trillion deals to the market over the next 15 years. And you've got those internet deals that are that's taking a lot of the market's attention. And so, it's one of those things where, like Buffett says, you want to go where nobody's paying attention. And so we got a fitness deal right now that literally we're doing at 1.2 times earnings. And there's just no buyers. We can throw out an offer, get cussed out, get kicked out. And, a month later, they realize they got to close the deal with us.
So give us an example. I mean, are we talking about like, a lot of this stuff I imagine if you're going to buy something at a 1.2 multiple, I imagine it's going to be like those really non-sexy businesses, right? Like a carpet cleaner or, in terms of those offline businesses, Ace, like give us some, I know you said offline, but industry wise, give us some examples.
Well, that deal was a fitness gym.
Okay.
So one of the things that I love is any business with recurring income. So we've had some explosive deals in the tanning salon space. We did an amazing deal on a spa that was a membership style spa. And when you get those things, I mean, the thing that people miss with these offline deals is the low-hanging fruit is treating it like an internet business. You can run those businesses basically the same way that you run an internet business with a little bit of a headache as far as the employees. But I can, for my offline business, I can get online, see everything that's going on in that business. I can hear what they're doing. I can see what they're doing. I can see the very last transaction. I can see what the very last person just bought a minute ago. I mean, you can run that business like an internet business. And the real opportunity is promoting it like an internet business. So we understand like, hey, there's the cost of acquisition for a customer. If I can get a customer, I can get them to keep a membership for 6 months. I need to go out and pay 3 months because I'm still doubling my money, and then I just monitor that, and you just go. I mean, it's very simple. Probably one of the least used assets in those businesses is the database of customers. Realize the value of a database. They don't use them. Literally, I've had businesses with 14,000 person database. Have you ever contacted them? No, never. We would never bother our customers like that. We would never want to do that. It's like, great, I'll take the business. Let's go.
Right. And I think that, the thing is, I think, with that gym, and by the way, just you touched on something that's important. So let me just tease it out for the audience. What you were saying, Ace, is, when you look at a customer, you're looking at the lifetime value. So in that case, if they are a lifetime value is 6 months of $29.95 for the membership, you are okay with spending for acquisition. You're okay with spending half that, right? Because if you spend 3 months of in this case $29.95. $90 to acquire that customer, but that they're going to be a customer for 6 months. You've just doubled your money. So number one, how much you can spend on customer acquisition because the lifetime value. So again, I think that's really important. A lot of people don't think about that kind of thing. So in addition to that, Ace, when you are looking at a business like that spa or the club, like the gym, you are looking at obviously the $29.95, the recurring monthly payment, but also you have upsells, right? You are selling, maybe you're selling the shakes, maybe you're selling vitamins, maybe you're selling, workout, apparel. How when you are looking and evaluating a business, those add-on products, right? Those additional revenue channels, how important is that to you?
It's huge. It's huge. You wouldn't, it's amazing to me, the business owners that feel bad about selling. And you walk into these businesses and it's almost like an anti-salesman, like, oh, don't push too much on the customers. We did a deal on a tanning salon and they weren't even trying to sell lotion. And so basically when we go into a business, you've got 3 different ways to increase the bottom line. Number one is getting the customers to spend more money. And most offline businesses aren't doing even just a simple would you like fries with that McDonald's
Yeah.
example?
Yep.
But there's something that you should be saying to every customer. If you think about it, you go into a small business, 90% of them aren't doing that, just the large franchises and all of that. The second way is to get the customers that are coming to you to come more frequently. And, again, that's with databases and follow-ups and coupons and all that, and engaging your customer. And then the last one, and we get to this last, and that's to get more customers. And we're doing a lot, mostly online, because these businesses, again, when you say, okay, where's the deficiency? Most of the time, it's lack of use of technology in their marketing efforts, and just making it numerical. I'm not trying to go out and be an artist, some advertising artist. Like, I want to know I spend this amount of money, I get this many eyeballs, this many people inquire, this many people are going to buy, this is the amount of money they're going to spend when they buy, and this is the return based on the amount that we spent at the beginning.
So for that last piece, Ace, in terms of getting new customers, where do you like to deploy capital? I mean, is it Facebook ads? Is it Google pay-per-click or AdWords? Where have you found the best ROI in terms of getting new customers?
Facebook has really been doing well. It does depend on the business, though.
Okay.
And a lot of it is testing. So we try Facebook because that tends to work really well for a lot of the businesses. And we've got some that have just exploded because of Facebook. Then we'll try Google Ads, usually comes after that. And then we had one case where Twitter worked. Twitter tends to cost a lot per click, but for certain things it can work really well. And we just started playing around with some things as far as building some Instagram following. So you can't advertise directly yet on Instagram, but it is the easiest place right now to build a following. And we've got on a business that is in the dental space, and we're playing around with some things there.
Interesting. And by the way, this is something maybe we should talk about offline. So the show, we have a radio advertising arm. So if any of your clients ever want to do radio, we can help you with that.
Very cool.
So, okay, look, we got to start wrapping up. We're running way over. You've been the fascinating guest. I always ask for a book recommendation, and I'm really, really curious, Ace, what a guy like you reads. So typically the setup is, I'm an aspiring agent, I have $25, what book should I go buy? But for you, Ace, just if I'm going to learn about something that what book should I go buy?
Number one would be Oren Class, Pitch Anything. It's an amazing book. It changes how you think about selling. And I think that that's the most important skill set, no matter what you're doing. And I would recommend that as number one.
Give us. I normally will only let people say one, but for you, give us three if you could. So we got Pitch Anything by Oren Claff.
Another one would be goes back, but When Money Was in Fashion. And this is the story of Henry Goldman, who really is the one that put together Goldman Sachs and made it into what it is today. And it's just an amazing story about kind of starting something that becomes just massive, and making those deals and that kind of thing. For somebody who's interested in this stuff, that will be really interesting. Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun would be another one. And that's about a guy named Reginald Lewis. He did $1 billion acquisition as an African-American in the 80s. Unfortunately, got brain cancer and wasn't able to really become everything that he was capable of. But that book walks through his journey of starting with a tiny business and then going to a larger business. And like I said, ending up with a $1 billion business and acquisition before his untimely death. And I could go on and on, but there's so many really great books out there.
Well, I love those, man. And I'll tell you, none of those have ever come up. So let me ask, have you, the book that I just finished reading and I love, I can't believe it took me so long to find it, is The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes. Have you read that one?
I have. That is a great one. I love that book.
That's a great book. Listen, everybody, if you want to get Pitch Anything by Oren Klaff, When Money Was in Fashion by June Fisher, or Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun by Reginald Lewis, get a free copy on us. Use our link. Go to audibletrial.com/superagentslive and you'll get a free copy there. Hey, Ace, look, for you, right? You've had this amazing career. It's been really varied. Who has been a mentor to you that you've been able to learn all this stuff?
Yeah, I've had two mentors that had a big impact. One is Oren Klaff, and he really shifted how I thought about the deals that I was doing. But my first mentor, the guy that had the biggest impact, actually is a guy out of Chattanooga. He doesn't like for me to give his name out, but I'll call him. His first name is Mike. But I was on the interview before and said his name. He had people trying to contact me. He's like, I don't want to talk to these people.
Right.
What are you doing? So I'll refrain from saying his name. But just an awesome guy. He was going to med school and realized he was actually, grew up very poor. And ended up buying a hospital and got into flipping hospitals. And
Wow.
He was the guy that made me realize that this was even possible. I had done a couple deals, but I had mainly bought businesses with the hope of turning it into something huge. I was like, okay, I'll buy businesses and I can just sell them. But eventually I want to find a business that I'm going to own forever. I didn't see this as a thing. I'd never heard of anybody flipping businesses, so I'd never even considered it as a thing. And meeting him not only opened my eyes to that, but man, just he changed how I see the world for sure. And
so, and how old are you, Ace, and how old is that guy?
I just turned 35.
Good for you.
And man, Mike he's late 60s. He's about the same age as my dad. So mid to late 60s.
So how did you, so look, flipping hospitals, that's insane. I mean, that's big money stuff. How did you meet this guy and how did you get him to actually spend time with you?
So I'd had several people who said, they would hear about me and they're like, man, you need to meet this guy. And I'm like, oh, great. What does he do? It's like, I don't understand what he does, but you definitely need to meet him. And so I'm like, who is this guy? And finally, I run into him at an event and I'm like, people tell me I should meet you. What is it that you do? And that's what I don't know. I kind of say, I do a lot of things, but I got started flipping hospitals. And by this point, he had just done, a lot of different investing and that kind of thing. But I think one of the things that mentors want to see is you taking action. And so he saw me, talked about my very first deal. And I think the thing that impressed him wasn't necessarily, I was this amazing deal maker. He was just impressed that I had the guts to go out and try stuff. And even if I failed, I'm like, all right, let's go on to the next one. Let's make it happen. At that point, I was really down about my first deal. Like I said, it went to 1.4 and then down to 150. It's like, oh my goodness, that, looking back now, it's my best deal ever because it started all this stuff, and I'm amazed at what I got done at 19 and 20 years old. But I considered that a failure. But the thing that impressed him was I wasn't talking. I know he talks to a lot of people that are like, one day I want to do this, and one day I want to do that, and these are my dreams. And be impressed that I have such big dreams. Nobody cares about your dreams. It's easy to dream big. It's like, what are you doing? And as long as you're just talking about, I went and I did this, and I tried that, and I'm doing this, and yesterday I did this. What are your thoughts on that? Not, I'm going to do this in the future. What are your thoughts? And so, he allowed me to come and sit down and speak to him. And one of the things that was really valuable, he's like, hey, I don't have a lot of time to waste. When you come, bring me your business's financials and bring me your personal financial statement. And it wasn't a sit and chit chat.
Yeah.
It was, you're going to open up full kimono. We're going to talk about the real stuff and very little nitpicky things about how I thought. And he was one of the first guys that, I sold a business. I wanted to start a business from scratch. And he, instead of saying, well, no, maybe you shouldn't do that. He's like, well, what about that computer? Why didn't you build a computer from scratch? And breaking down the way of thinking and kind of just learning, well, man, starting from scratch is probably something for people that are already financially stable, because it's a high risk game. Yeah. So it's great to go out and do if you're already, financially secure, but you're trying to build up to that. So yeah, that's great for the future. But right now you need to go into a game and focus on things that have high odds of succeeding. And so he's definitely, there's just 100 different lessons that I learned from him.
I love it, man. All right, buddy. Well, listen, here's the thing, Ace. I encourage everybody, if they've gotten anything out of this, to reach out and say thank you to you. So where can people find you? And look, maybe they've heard this and go, look, Ace, I want you to find me a biz. Where can people find you, bud?
I am accessible, so folks can email me directly. It's ace@acechapman.com. If you're on Twitter, I'm at Ace Chapman. And be sure to check out the ACE formula. It's a book I wrote a few years back. It's on Amazon. And, people can go and take a look at that. And it has a lot of those lessons that I learned from my mentor in there.
Awesome. Well, look, I'll be the first one to kick off the thank you train. I appreciate it, man. I've taken, let's see here, an hour, 101, an hour of your time, Ace. I appreciate you taking time out and sharing with me and my audience.
Great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
All right, buddy. Let's stay in touch.
Let's go.